Now, the best thing about putting an agenda together is when you organise the agenda, you can always put the best session last. And it just so happens that one of the last sessions happens to be mine. So, it just goes to show. As you know, I'm Lester. I look after developer support, so you probably met Samantha and Adam. They report into me, and they probably interface with a lot of you guys, either through our Zendesk or through our forums. So what I thought for this session, I'd talk you through how we work in support, how we're trying to help improve the experience, and how you can help us improve it as well. So the support process, we generally take issues from 3 different sources. First of all, we have our community and indie licensees. We have members of the apps program, and you remember Massimo spoke this morning about the apps program. And we have our professional licensees as well. Regardless of what kind of license you have, you all have access to the forum. And something new we introduced probably around about a month ago was our bug tracker. So we give you visibility of what bugs are inside Marmalade, so you don't have to ask in the forums. And also you can report bugs as well. For Apps Program and Professional, they have access to Zendesk. Zendesk is our one-to-one private communication channel we use with customers. So if you post a question in there, it's completely private to you. You can talk about release dates, you can talk about sensitive information, and that goes no further than Marmalade. Zendesk is completely SLA driven as well, so when you raise an issue, you can specify how important that is to you. If it's something which is really urgent, we give you a turnaround time of around about 24 hours. Of course, 24 hours doesn't mean to say we're going to solve your problem in 24 hours, but it means that within 24 hours, we'll at least have looked at it and we'll give you some kind of meaningful response to say, well, we think it might be this, give this a go, or we'll need to investigate a little bit further. The types of issues we deal with through Zendesk kind of vary. We do a lot of how-to. So customers using Marmalade, they run into a problem. They need to know how it works. So we'll do some, I would say training. Training is probably the wrong word, but help them understand how to use those functions. When we get one of those issues, it gets assigned to an engineer. So someone like Samantha or Adam will look at it. And they manage to solve, a good 80 or 70% of those tickets pretty much straight away. And sometimes, the issues that come through are, really complicated that we can't deal with them because they need a really deep programming or SDK experience. So we hand it over to one of the engineers. And you've already seen our engineers, so you've already met people like Philip, people like Andrew. So when they're not working on the product, we can walk over to them and say, customer has this problem, we can't help. Can you look into it in more detail? And they'll devote some time to actually help us troubleshoot that. We also deal with bugs as well, so bugs come through to us. Bugs can get reported through Zendesk. They can also go through our bug submittal form. We never used to have a bug submittal form at one point. You used to drop your bugs into the forum, and dare I say, you're kind of at the mercy of someone discovering that and summarising it and put it into our system. And that's actually really difficult because a lot of time when you look at a forum bug, there's not a lot of information there to go on. Or if there is, it's kind of that long. You never get kind of like, here's a problem, it works like this, it's broken. So discoverability there and summarising the information is always a bit tricky. So to solve that problem, we put in a bug tracking form where now you can go, click a link, and it's more structured. So describe the problem, steps to reproduce, and you can attach some sample code. Then that comes into my team, it comes into us via email. Then what we do is we assign it to Adam or Samantha or myself, and we'll have a go at trying to reproduce that problem. If we can reproduce it, we then add it into our Jira database. So Jira is kind of our second level database where we track issues once they've gone to the engineers. And then on a daily basis, we then meet with the engineering team and say, these are the bugs that have come in yesterday, or these are the questions that have come in yesterday that we need your assistance on. We then look to see what kind of impact that has on the product or impact that has on the customer. And then we'll assign that to either the current point release of Marmalade, or we put it into the backlog for a time when we've reached through all the urgent issues and we get to those. You've probably seen the Jira stage quite a lot, so in the forums now, you'll probably see where we paste this maint number, or if you're a professional customer on your ticket ID, you may sometimes see that we put this prefix of maint -123. That's the process there where it's gone through to our second level. So at any point, if you've got one of those issues, you can always look it up into the bug tracker, or drop us an email and say, can you tell me the status of this? And we should be able to update you pretty quickly. So what are we doing to make support better? Well, I've only been at Marmalade for about 3-4 months now, and already I can see we've made a lot of improvements. Hopefully you guys will agree. I think we're a lot better now at putting out point releases of Marmalade. So on a more regular basis, we'll do updates, and the bug fixes we're putting into the updates usually average around about 30 bug fixes per every point release. So that's every couple of weeks we're shipping out a new release there that's got a significant amount of bug fixes in there. We're more proactive as well in terms of letting you know about these mentioned IDs or these geoticket IDs. When I first started with Marmalade, a lot of times I'd look in a forum and there'd be a post there, someone saying, you said you've logged this as a bug, what's the status? Well, it became a nightmare for me because I'd look at that and I'd spend 2 hours searching for it, and I'd have no way of knowing whether it was registered in Jira or if it wasn't registered in Jira. So obviously the very simple solution there was to make sure that when we put it into Jira was to tell you guys, so you have some way to find out. It also helps us as well in the future, so we can just look at a forum post and say, I can go into Jira and find it very quickly. If you didn't know already, I know some of you didn't know that we have a bug tracker, and you can get it at tiny URL, Marmalade bug tracker, and you can see a list in there of all our outstanding bugs. It's not perfect right now. It's kind of a manual generation on my part. What I need to do is I need to go into the Jira system on maybe once or twice a week, convert everything into Excel, delete a few unnecessary lines for the ones which are not bugs, but where we're asking engineers to help support us, and just trying to make the title a little bit more appealing. Sometimes it might say crash with I don't know, some random API. Obviously helps nobody. So Samantha is very active in going in there and making sure that the title is something which makes a bit of sense to you guys as well, and hopefully you guys are seeing that improving. Some of the other things we're doing is we realise that Marmalade is quite a complicated product, and once you've installed it, you're kind of on your own at that point. Yes, you have the docs, but wouldn't it be great if there was more help and training available to you? So starting in September, we'll be starting to do some webinars. The first webinar is going to be very much how do I use Marmalade, so it's kind of a getting started. But we do want to work with you guys so we can start doing more webinars on a more regular basis, so helping support you with more information. And we also want to do training as well. So you can probably see people around recording. One of the ideas which we have is making sure that the engineers are talking about some of the things they're working on. So ICF files, for example, we can get an engineer into a room to talk about ICF files for 5 minutes, 10 minutes in great depth and host it on YouTube. And then it's always there for you guys to look at again in the future. We've started a knowledge base. We find that we have a lot of information and it gets lost. Even inside Zendesk and Jira, in 6 months' time when you go searching for something, you'll get 300 hits back, and then you've got to look for an entire ticket to kind of find out what the problem was and what the solution was. And mixed in there was, I tried this, it didn't work, I tried that, and so the information gets lost very quickly. And forums are just as bad, right? You've got a forum thread that's this size, and there's no distinct solution sometimes. So what we've done is we've started creating a knowledge base where we're writing very simple how do I articles and snippets of code and just capturing them. It's early days with that, so we're not really ready to roll it out to everybody at the moment. But once we start getting critical mass of articles, then we will publish our knowledge base. Docs, I know docs get a lot of criticism. When I joined Marmalade, I put a post on the forums to say, what is your biggest gripes with support and Marmalade? And it was always the same things that come back. Support, documentation, no bug tracker. Well, bug tracker we're kind of working on. Docs is the next big thing for me. And the one I'm really keen to do is try to do something around Wikidocs. So if anyone here has any experience of using wikis for documentation, then I'd really like to hear from you. So we'd like to try to figure out, is it feasible? Can we really do it? And if we can, exactly how can we do that? So we'd love to pick your brains on that. We're starting to open source more modules as well. So in 6.1, the way we've changed our build system is we can host components up on GitHub, and it will go off and bring them down. That doesn't mean to say from day one we're going to put all our open source components up onto GitHub, but we are going to start feeding them up there on a gradual basis. So as you do start running into bugs where you want to make changes to the code, you will have access to it. Forum support, yes, we hear you when you complain that forum support is not fantastic. We know the forum software is awful. We use it internally as well. So we're trying to keep track of all your posts just like you are. So we run into all the same problems as you guys do, and I don't think you'll find too many people who have a nice word to say about the forum software. It is definitely something which we want to change. In theory, it's easy to say, let's go to PHP forums and move, right, and be done with it. Unfortunately, it's not really that simple because of the single sign-on stuff that we use right now. So when you create your Marmalade account, your license is created, your forum account is created, and it's all together. If we move across into PHP forums, we might lose some of that integration. That doesn't mean to say that we're not looking at it. We are exploring ideas as to how we make the whole software piece a lot better. And trust me, I am very vocal about that internally. There's not a day goes by when I don't go and nag the web team about forums. We also know that we're not that active in the forums. We do say that the forums is community driven, but that doesn't excuse Marmalade from not participating. We do try. Our engineers, they have objectives to look at the forums on a regular basis. We found that hasn't really worked. We had some great guys from Marmalade who were looking at the forums, but several of those have moved on in recent months, so the forums have kind of not got the love and affection that they deserve from Marmalade. We are addressing that, so once we get 6.1 out of the way, then our engineers will have component owners for specific areas of Marmalade. So we will know who the owner is of a particular topic, and we'll be able to say to him, if you haven't applied to your particular area of Marmalade for a day or two. So do bear with us with that. It is something which we're definitely looking to improve. We did try forum moderators as well. So you probably don't know, but we have some external forum moderators, guys that we chose I won't say random from the community, but guys we found to be fairly active in posting. And we asked them to work with us to make sure that threads had answers, and that where they weren't, they were contacting me directly and saying, you should respond to this. Unfortunately, you probably remember we did an update to our forum software recently. I say update, we did a downgrade to our forum software recently. And that completely hosed it. So even now, the forum moderators, they contact me on a regular basis and say, am I still a forum moderator or what? Unfortunately, the software there is not perfect. So once we get the software sorted out, we will have these guys back again. And I'm also going to be looking for more forum moderators as well. So if you are active in the community, then I know you are, David. Then please do let me know, because we do want to support you guys. There are some things you can do to help make our lives a lot easier as well. Typically, on an average week, the team deals with around about 50 Zendesk support tickets, and that can be everything from a bug to these, how do I kind of issues. We find that a repro case drastically speeds up the problem. If you think of it from an engineer's perspective, they've got 50 tickets sitting in front of them, and then someone throws a completely random question at them that's got no repro case, very little information about it. It doesn't jump to the top of the queue. We kind of deal with the things that we can deal with very quickly to make way for the next guy. So if you are contacting us either through the forums or through the bug tracking form or through Zendesk, please make sure you give us as much information as possible. And here are just a few examples in the 3 months I've been here. I'm having a problem with S3 audio. It doesn't seem to be working. Are you aware of any issues? Well, it's kind of a very open question, isn't it? Well, what kind of response can you give to that? Or another one, Android market's been crashed. Can you fix the bug? That came through our bug tracking tool. Okay, it crashed. That's sorry to hear that, but if you can give us a little bit more information, perhaps we can help narrow it down. I'm not saying you guys are that bad. You guys are probably really good, but most of the time, because you're an engineer, you're so in front of the problem all the time that you think everyone kind of knows it. So just step back and think that I'm explaining this to somebody who knows nothing about my problem, so I need to tell them absolutely everything. Make sure you're using Bug Tracker or Zendesk, whatever's appropriate for you when you are raising issues. Sometimes we put the bug tracking form there, specifically to help people using the forums, because what we found is some of the posts going into the forums and we wouldn't see it, or it wouldn't get a response. So you're kind of relying on someone to stumble across your post. If you send it through the correct bug tracking software, it comes directly to me, which means I can then give it to Samantha or Adam to reproduce it, and we know it goes into the system. And then you'll get a response back to say that it's been logged, so it's been in the system as well. Finally, let us know the correct SLA. So if you're a Zendesk customer, you can raise something that has a turnaround time of 24 hours, or you can have something that's got a turnaround time of 4 days. So make sure you use the right one. Sometimes we find people abuse the system. They'll raise something which is how do I use market billing, and they put it as a ultimately high priority, wanting a turnaround in 24 hours. But 24-hour turnaround is more, my game is crashing, I'm trying to get it into the store, please help me, I can't do anything to help me. On the other occasion, you get people who put things in as like our lowest priority, and then after half an hour, they're kind of why haven't you answered my question yet? So make sure you're setting these things with the right priority. In the forums too, I know not all of you are Zendesk customers, but let us know if something is really urgent. You've got my card over there. You'll see my Skype details in a second. I'm always contactable. I won't take technical questions because I'm not that technical. But if something is really urgent for you, then tell us. Okay, don't rely on us kind of stumbling across your post to know. Just let us know. Saying I've posted this. It really is a problem for me. Can you look at it? That's not to say that we're going to drop everything and James is going to go and speak to the engineers and the bug is going to be fixed that afternoon for you. But at least we know it's going to be on our radar. We'll do what we can to help at that point. My last slide is my contact details. As I say, my card is over there, but you can always Skype me. I'm on Skype pretty much all day, and I'm usually pretty good at answering my email as well. So that's how we work in support. So the last session is more of a discussion, really. I think we've given you a brain dump on Marmalade. You've heard some really interesting people, got some great offers. I mean, even I'm now tempted to go and develop a playbook application. So 10 grand would be nice for holiday time frame. So what we'd like to do now, I guess, is to talk to you about what do you want from us? What are we doing badly? What are we doing well? What can James do personally to make your lives easier?
Always here to help.
And we'll bring on some of our Tony, who looks after the SDK. We have some engineers here as well. So we're the last guy standing between you and 3 beers from RIM. So we're open to any kind of suggestion at this point as to what you want from us. Is that too much of an open question?
Have you asked everything during today's?
You just told us if we don't ask any questions, we get a beer.
That's true. Okay, let me ask you a question. Who uses the forums on a regular basis?
Semi-regular.
Cool. And what would you say your experience of it is?
I hate it. Especially, I'm a part-time indie dev who can't afford a professional license. There isn't enough information in the documentation, so the first port of call is the forums. And trying to find any information out there, you basically end up with a thread that's 2 years old, asking the same questions that you've got but hasn't been answered, which is frustrating. Or you'll find people asking things about AirPlay SDK, which I believe was 4.0, which was when I first came across it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no way is that current, so yeah, forums need some love.
Is it love from a software perspective, or is it love from an engineered touch perspective, or both?
Both. I mean, it's kind of internet etiquette not to resurrect threads that are 3 years old or something from a forum, but when it's asking the exact question that you want answering, it's kind of difficult not to. But then you don't actually, I mean, I don't actually know if that actually appears anywhere as being a new thread, because there's no way of kind of seeing, there's like a sidebar with 4 threads or something. So there's no way of knowing that it's even visible to anyone, let alone been read. So yeah, I found that I can search for my threads by searching for my username, which is quite unique, fortunately. But there's no way of knowing if anyone's read it or.
Yeah, we used to have this wonderful system where you can subscribe to threads, or you can subscribe to threads which you made, or subscribe to threads made by another person.
That's normal for forums.
It's normal.
You had edit post briefly as well, didn't it?
Sorry?
We briefly had edit post for a while and then that vanished.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that functionality. It was there. They did this upgrade. It wasn't there. I complained. I saw it on our staging server, so we have a staging server where you can see it if it's about to go live. It was there for about 2 weeks, and I got sick of going to the forums on a daily basis from someone posting saying, "Why can't I subscribe to threads? This is basic forum stuff." And at first like, yeah, it's coming, guys, on stuff. I've seen it on our staging server. Now after like a week of this, you kind of feel a bit. I really can't answer that question anymore because it should be there. And then it disappeared off our staging server. So I went to the web guys and said, "Where is this software? Where is this functionality?" And they didn't know either at that point. So we have a developer who is working through all these issues right now. And he knows about it, believe me, because I do tell him.
Probably tearing his hair out as well.
How many web guys are there?
It was a special team of developers who we hired to do the website, and I believe there was 3 of them at one point. At the moment, we're down to just 1.
We are recruiting a new web developer.
I'll fix the forums, that comes. I don't know if it's available software, but like you get the answers, and I see quite a lot of people have that kind of Stack Overflow thing installed or something like that, where the website.
We actually spoke about that yesterday because we all like Stack Overflow internally, and we would like to use that as our forum software. Again, it comes down to that integration piece. And only yesterday I said to the developer, I said, why can't we have this Stack Overflow system? I even went out and found what I thought was a Drupal module, which is what we use, that gives you that functionality. And I sent it to him. I said, I want one of these. So he knows, and I have to fill out a Jira ticket to send it to him. And then once he get it onto his roadmap.
So that single sign-on and the integration that you're talking about, is that for you? Is that for us? Because from my point of view, I wouldn't mind having a separate forums sign-on account if it removed the frustration of dealing with the forums.
It's a good question. I think historically it's been there for us, and we also have this social rewards program which we're supposed to be implementing as well. So we use some software for, I think it's called Gidia, and the idea behind this social rewards software is when you make a post, you rack up points. So every time you post, you get 10 points. You've probably seen this on the sidebar, right? And when you've racked up enough points, you can then trade in your points for an indie license. So you'll start getting free software from us. All this was decided before I started. So
How much do you have to make?
I'm not sure actually. I do have a spreadsheet that's got it in there. So.
Well, then you read the threads anyway.
We're all making lots of posts. We can't edit them. What do you think?
That's annoying for us that we can't edit. I'm an admin, I can't edit posts.
Another feature that's going to disappear.
Yeah, well, hopefully edit will stay. So I think that's the reason behind the single sign-on is because of this social rewards program. It does need to be looked at. We all complain. So it's not like we're kind of secret advocates for internally, because we're definitely not. David, you're going to ask a question.
No, I was going to do the same thing.
Oh,
Do you need the single sign-on, or can you just the separate one?
I'm interested in what Ideaworks 3D is.
Okay. Only answer that, Tony.
Me?
Yeah.
Do you mean what it?
What it is? Is it another company or a
Okay,
subsidiary?
so if
if you were here for Russell's presentation, we started out with Game Studio, Ideaworks Game Studio. And then at some point in our history, we decided before I joined as well, which is quite strange, you asked me to answer the question, but anyway. We decided to split off and have Marmalade, or Airplay as it was at the time, as a separate product. So it's still the same company, the studio sitting on the other side of the building. So Ideaworks 3D Limited is the legal entity, and we're trading as Marmalade for the SDK and as Ideaworks Game Studio for Game Studio. It's as simple as that.
Any more questions? Toby, you had a couple of questions that you'd like to ask about API. See, that shows that moment from as soon as you started eating something.
That's fine. So, I guess, hello, my name's Toby. I'm a developer here at Ideaworks. I've been here for 5-6 years now, and there are some questions I want to ask you, basically. Principally, as you're aware, that we have a wide range of platform support now. At the start of the company's lifetime, we were supporting what are basically embedded devices, so Brew and set-top boxes and things like that. Obviously, we're in the post-IOPS iPhone era these days, and I wanted to take this opportunity to ask you guys about maybe some of the features that were appropriate back then, whether you guys feel that they're still appropriate, whether they're giving you value. Whether you've even heard of them, actually, frankly. I think I'd be surprised if you heard of a few of them. So can I just briefly start? Hands up everyone who's heard of stack switching. I think that answers my question quite comprehensively. So we do actually have a feature in the Marmalade architecture, so we have a very clear definition of the barrier between what we call the loader, which is the platform abstraction, and the game itself. At the point at which we move from one to the other, if you're not tech, I'm sorry about this, guys, we actually swap the stacks. So the stack is different when you're in the loader to actual different. There's no continuity there. If you haven't heard about it, if you don't think this is a useful feature, that's great ammunition for me, because I want to take it out. For lots and lots of reasons, it's very technically difficult to maintain that kind of thing. Obviously, it's machine code, very low level stuff, so that's great. The other one is the memory model.
Sorry, can I interrupt just on that topic? Can you explain the positive of stack switching? So that
No.
Because as far as I'm aware, the positive is for debugging, that you always know whether you're running on iOS, Android, or on the Windows simulator, that your stack is always going to say.
That's true.
So I'm not against what you're saying. I just want to know if anyone would even think that's.
Yeah. Okay. So just to be fair, yeah. So one possible positive feature is that just repeat if you didn't hear. Crashes that occur in the simulator your stack, if a crash does occur in the simulator, will be the same stack as it would be on device. Up to a point, by the way. If you have extensions in there, then that changes the game. So once you start to use extensions, obviously we can't guarantee that the simulator stack is going to be the same. Anyway, I think that's covered that one. So I wanted to move on to the memory model. You all may know that the memory model for Marmalade is to allocate everything up front and allocate out of that. How do we feel? Can I just have a quick show of hands? If we were to offer you a memory model that was basically, now I've talked to at least one of you guys today about this, a memory model that was based on the operating system giving you direct access to the operating system allocator. On a rough show of hands, who would prefer that to the upfront allocation? A minority. Interesting.
I think upfront allocation is more suited to limited memory devices.
Yeah.
So you absolutely know how much memory you're using.
Yeah.
Either works or it doesn't.
Not have
Yeah.
an option to turn it on or off. Would that be?
I would love to give you the option to turn it on or off. Yes. In fact, I would love the default option to be the system allocator. I don't know if you've seen, there's a product called Draw. Sorry?
Well, you can always put your own heap system on top.
You can. One of the issues here is basically in the memory model that we have, if you're not quite sure what your largest total allocation might be, you have to put the maximum up front, right? So it doesn't matter if you're sitting in the menu screen just using up 2 or 3K, if you know at some point in your game you're going to need 12 meg, that's the minimum allocation that your game will ever appear to have for the operating system. I don't know if you're aware that a lot of the kind of mobile phone operating systems that you have low memory warning conditions, and they'll say to you, please throw away any memory that you don't have. Right now we don't have that feature, we can't give you that. There is a product called Draw Something, and if you type in Marmalade and Draw Something, is that Draw Something? Am I right on that?
Yes.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So a massive hit, but if you type in Marmalade and Draw Something, what you don't see is some great advertising for us. What you see is an exception screen. Out of memory, 12 meg. So that's something I would like to, I mean, just how do we feel about that?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
But you can disable those memory. You can state in ICF
You can.
mem size 1,
You
mem
can.
size 2, and you can.
But the default right now is to use the fixed heap.
It's up to developer, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, it's up to the OS primarily, and if the OS wants to dump your app because you're the main offender.
Yeah, and this is why in a mobile space it's actually quite a hostile allocation strategy. Obviously, try and use as little as you can at any particular point.
Sorry, I was
Nick.
just about to say that, although I disclaimer I do not use Marmalade, but I would probably, other systems that I've used you might do that, but then you might later say I want another 10 meg block, and then Marmalade could go to the OS and get another block which you can allocate from, and then later throw that away. Let's say you're doing something like browsing the user's photo library, which is the exceptional thing, and
Yeah.
another. So then maybe then your fixed static block could be 4 meg, and then you could ask for another 4 meg when you do this operation and throw it away later.
Sure,
Something
absolutely,
like
yeah. These are all possibilities.
so it's like the same as you've got now, but you can create more at one time.
In smaller chunks, yeah. I mean, I'd like to see features like that. Certainly my personal feeling, I just want to kind of get a bit of an idea about what you guys are thinking, is that everything up front attitude is quite hostile to the system. Those were my main two bugbears. Of course, we are looking at on-device debugging. One thing that I wanted to check with the room is, are you aware that we actually use our own custom executable format? Our object format, yeah, so the S3 file. It is basically an ELF file, but we've done some jiggery pokery there, and if any of you guys know what a linker script is, we actually run a linker script at deploy time, our own custom linker script. Now, that has the single binary is not something we necessarily could step away from, but we could make it easier. Now, one of the reasons that on-device debugging right now is quite hard to achieve is that this custom object format is not generally understandable by debuggers. I'm going to take it as read that you consider the common binary approach to be useful. Is that correct? Yeah? Okay. So, but you don't really care.
I don't really care if it's common binary.
Yeah.
Common code is all I care about.
Yeah.
As long as it runs.
Yeah.
So you can do whatever you want afterwards.
Common source.
Common source.
Is what you're looking for. Yeah.
Common source, but it's debuggable.
There is a good feature with those S files. I do like that idea. I mean, I suppose if you were to do that, you'd have to increase the size and then to have a binary for it.
Yeah, you'd be looking at a fat binary kind of approach. Possibly, yeah. I mean, I do think there's a way we can find to basically have common object, but for actually to be interpretable by all your debug tools. By GDB, basically, would be our main target there. So you don't particularly care that the S3 format is its own little thing. I mean, it did used to have advantages for load time run, for the initial load time, but that's kind of gone by these days. The flash memory systems are seeming to be pretty fast. The load times tend to be more about using asynchronous load techniques, things like that. So, I mean, those are really the three things that I just kind of wanted to have a quick canvas with you guys while you're here. Just while I'm here for maybe a couple of minutes, are there anything, I'm sure you've been talking about some of this in general, I hope, but what is it, are there any features that you're kind of really looking for at these lower levels, perhaps, that you can throw at me right now while I'm standing here?
Sorry, just something comes into my head. You don't have the access on iPhone or Android to write your own GDB stuff that runs inside the platform abstraction layer, do you? Because then you could write a common debugger.
It's possible.
And then HTTP, you could then have a common debugger that runs and connects to the remote.
It's
device.
possible, and in fact, if you know a bit about the way that Android debugging works. So you have a GDB server. You tend to install a GDB server on. Not quite.
Usually, though, you need things like interrupt access to do some of the breakpointing stuff that maybe you can't do on iOS. I don't know.
Sure, it's something to have a think about. Really, I've got the information that I want. If there's nothing else that any of you guys want from me, then I'll let you get back to it. Lester.
Cool, thank you very much.
Thanks.
I did have one.
Sure.
Going back to memory, I don't know if there currently is a way. Is there a way to ask how much memory a system might be?
Yes, I believe there is. Andrew, can you remember off the top of your head?
What was the question?
RAM size.
That's available what after you within the
Well,
mode,
before
like-
you decide how much to allocate, so you can then decide which resources to allocate.
So before you grabbed it from memory?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we. I'm not even sure if devices generally offer that because, well, I mean, you can obviously get the system, like find out how much actual physical memory there is, but you wouldn't necessarily have to query how much memory it's prepared to give you. I don't think.
There's a straightforward way of doing it, which is to do a binary chop. What's the largest thing you can do? You'll get it eventually. But that would be the low-tech way of doing it.
Are there actually memory diagnostics? I haven't delved too far into it, so you can see what allocations you've been making throughout.
Yes, there is a way of getting a dump a la the Microsoft debug heap kind of, that kind of thing. These are the things that you can free at the end. I think if you use membuckets, you will get that. We also do in the debug heap poisoning and the usual kind of dead men's areas, dead beef of both sides, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I'm sure it's all in the documentation.
It's all it's all in the documentation. It's just got to find it. Yes.
Is there any way to check the amount of available video memory?
Of what? Sorry.
Video memory.
Video memory. I am not a graphics guy. Do we have a graphics guy here, Andrew?
No, I'm not a graphics guy. But if it's just querying the actual hardware.
Actually, there is no way in current Marmalade, I know for sure, but I'm asking if it's possible to add something like that.
I can think of a very low-tech way, which is just get the chipset ID and figure and do it against the reference there. But those tend to be quite error-prone.
There are issues like because on some devices, on some operating systems, this memory is shared with normal RAM, and on others it's not. So it can be problematic.
Yeah, we love those systems. We had a augmented reality application that was trying to mix video and camera memory on this. Yeah. Sorry? Oh yeah. You've heard of that. Yeah. So works fine on most devices. There's one particular device which gave us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I did the optimization for
Hello. Thanks for your help there. So there's no more for any more. Great. Yeah.
A little video memory question. When you upload a texture,
Yeah.
that memory is kind of unaccounted for. It doesn't show up in the simulator in a heap or anything.
I'll refer you back to my previous statement that I'm not really a graphics guy, but I can, if there's a specific question, I can go and drag one out for you.
It'd just be kind of useful if you could see how much video memory you had was in use at a given time.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a great diagnostic, wouldn't it? Yeah. If there's a way to do it.
Myself at the minute, I upload a texture.
I can drag a graphics expert out and get him to talk to you.
That's all right.
Let's have Steve all around.
Well,
Well, we'll drag him in and point him in your direction. I'm a network specialist. Anyone got any network questions?
Yeah. HTTPS to work.
It does. Specifically, what's wrong?
Protocol not supported.
Did you enable HTTPS
Yes.
support?
Yes. No, the docs say it's not supported.
Which protocol?
HTTPS is it?
Right. I think what you're doing there is missing a define from the MKB.
No, I have to define.
Oh, really?
Which I found on the forums eventually.
Really? Okay. If you can demonstrate that in a little project, I would love to fix that because I hate things that go wrong in network stuff. So.
Sure.
Yeah, it's my code. I can guarantee it definitely does work, but there's
Works on my machine.
It works on a whole bunch of machines, but yeah, show me.
Yeah,
because
it's
there's
going to be something trivial.
Yeah, and if we can help you, we'll yeah, please do. And if you made that mistake, then it's a mistake we need to fix in the docs to make it clear. Any more for any more?
Toby, we
Yes.
have a graphic guy.
Right. This is Philip. So we have a couple of specific questions regarding graphics memory, Philip. I think
Right.
you can address them. So one was, is there any way of knowing how much text from memory you've got uploaded to the card? Along that lines? Yeah.
It doesn't show up as a normal ID. Once the texture is uploaded, it kind of vanishes.
I guess there might not be something there already, but we could have a look into that.
That's, you're not help, aren't you? Right, it's pretty inconclusive. Then. We'll find that one out. And the other one is, have we got any way of asking the chipset how much video memory there is?
There probably is.
Right, go and get me another graphics. Okay, so if there's nothing more, it is near o'clock as was observed. Thanks all for coming in. Look forward to seeing all your great apps on the App Store. Cheers.
Okay, well, guys, this is our first event, and it's actually been fantastic. I was pretty pleased to see so many people here. I like to think I've met a lot of nice people. Hopefully, we'll be very friendly when they contact me on email or by forums in the future. As I said, you do have my details, but now we are going to go and have some beers, which means I need to go and go to my desk, change a few things. The pub we're going to go to is going to be down there to the right. Where are our room guys? Because we don't want to lose them.